So I start, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So Hare Krishna, Prabhu is Mother. Yes, welcome all of you. Thank you for joining and keeping the appointment, Krishna, today. And we'll be, thank you for this con Shashadi Prabhu giving me this opportunity to glorify the Lord through Srimad Bhagavatam verses. Today is 16th of April, 2024. And we'll be discussing from third canto, 33rd chapter, verse number 27 and 28. Before starting, let us sing Jai Radha Madhav. जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी जय यमुना तिरवनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री प्रभुपाद राधा माधव की जय विष्णु भगवान की पंचतत्वेश्वर गोस्वामी की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय श्री गुरु की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, welcome all of you. Thank you for joining. So, I've been given two verses to discuss today. Verse number from third canto, 33rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 27 and 38. So let us recite the verses 33 to 27. नित्यारूढ समाधित्वात् परावृत्त गुणभ्रमा न सस्मार तदात्मानं स्वप्ने दृष्टं विभोतितः नित्यारूढः समाधित्वात् परावृत्तगुणभ्रमा न सस्मार तदात्मानम् स्वप्ने दृष्टं विभूतितः. Anybody would like to recite?
May I, Prabhu?
Yes, Bhavani.
One second. Hare Krishna. नित्यरूढा समाधित्वा परावृत्तगुणभ्रमा न संसार तदात्मानं स्वप्ने दृष्टमिवोथितः. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll go to word meaning synonyms. Nitya, eternal. Arudha, situated in. Samadhitvat, from trance. Paravritta, freed from. Guna, of the modes of material nature. Brahma, illusion. Nasasmara, she did not remember. Tada, then. Atmanam, her material body. Swapne, in a dream. Drishtam, seen. Iva, just as. Uttitaha, one who has arisen. Translation and purport by Jivan Gashir Ki Jai. Please hear the translation purport. Situated in internal trance and freed from illusion, impelled by the modes of material nature, she forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. Purport. A great Vaishnava said that he who has no remembrance of his body is not bound to material existence. As long as we are conscious of our bodily existence, it is to be understood that we are living conditionally under the three modes of material nature. When one forgets his bodily existence, his conditional material life is over. This forgetfulness is actually possible when we engage our senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the conditional state, one engages his senses as a member of a family or as a member of a society or country. But when one forgets all such membership in material circumstances and realizes that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, that is actual forgetfulness of material existence. This forgetfulness actually occurs when one renders service unto the Lord. A devotee no longer works with the body for sense gratification with family, society, country, humanity, and so on. He simply works for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. That is perfect Krishna consciousness. A devotee always merges in transcendental happiness, and therefore he has no experience of material distresses. This transcendental happiness is called eternal bliss. According to the opinion of devotees, constant remembrance of the Supreme Lord is called samadhi or trance. If one is constantly in trance, there is no possibility of his being attacked or even touched by the modes of material nature. As soon as one is freed from the contamination of the three material modes, he no longer has to take birth to transmigrate from one form to another in this material world. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Now it's the 28th verse. Taddeha parata sposho apikrashas chadya sambhavat babao malair avachannaha sadhumaiva pavakah taddeha parata posho apyakrishas chadya sambhavat babao malair avachannaha sadhumaiva pavakah taddeha parata posho apyakrishas chadya sambhavat babao malair avachannaha sadhuma iva pavakah. Anybody would like to recite?
May I, Prabhu?
Yes,
Hare
ma'am.
Krishna. Taddeha paratah posho apyakrishyaschadya sambhavat bhabau malair avachanna saduma iva pavakaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madam. Word to word meaning. Synonyms. Tad deha, her body. Paratah, by others. Damsels created by Kardama. Poshaha, maintained. Api, although. Akrishaha, not thin. Cha, and. Adi, anxiety. Asambhavat, from not occurring. Bhavav, shown. Malaihi by dust, Avachannaha covered, Sadhumaha surrounded with smoke, Eva like Pavakaha a fire. Sorry. Translation purport by Divine Geshe Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation purport. Her body was being taken care of by the spiritual damsels created by her husband Kardama. And since she had no mental anxiety at that time, her body did not become thin. She appeared just like a fire surrounded by smoke. Purport. Because she was always in trance, in transcendental bliss, the thought of the personality of Godhead was always carefully fixed in her mind. She did not become thin, for she was taken care of by the celestial maidservants created by her husband. It is said, according to the Ayurvedic medical science, that if one is free from anxieties, he generally becomes fat. Devavati, being situated in Krishna consciousness, had no mental anxieties, and therefore her body did not become thin. It is customary in the renounced order of life that one should not take any service from a servant or maid, but Devavati was being served by the celestial maidservants. This may appear to be against the spiritual concept of life, but just as fire is still beautiful even when surrounded by smoke, she looked completely pure, although it seemed that she was living in a luxurious way. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Gyantimarandasya Jnananjalishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadade Swabadatikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishaka Kamsya हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयते क्लेशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं करोतु वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति यत्कृपातमोहनं कारणं नमो विष्णुभूतिश्रीमति महाविष्णुस्वामिते नामिने नमो विष्णुभूतिश्रीमति जय श्री कृष्ण. So Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Mataji. Thank you for joining this Bhagavatam session. So this chapter is entitled Activities of Kapila. Kapila is the son of Kardama Muni. That is, son of Kardama Muni and Devati. And in fact, we saw from previous chapters and continuing that Kapila Muni is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, who has come in their lives as the son, as their son. And he is instructing the Sankhya philosophy to his mother Devabhuti. Actually, this chapter, there is a Falashruti. In fact, every day this chapter is being discussed, various verses. So those who are doing it Nityam, then naturally the Falashruti is very all over important. In fact, in the last verse 37, no, it says, Falashruti means what is the benefit of hearing this or reciting the shlokas of this chapter. The narration of Kapilideva and his mother, Devahuti, is so perfect and transcendental that even if one only hears or reads this description, of this discussion, narration between Kapila Muni and Devahuti, he achieved the highest perfectional goal of life. For he engages in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is no doubt that Devahuti, who had the Supreme Lord as her son, and who followed the instructions of Kapila so nicely, attained the highest perfection of human life. So those who hear this narration of this chapter or read this full chapter or recite the shlokas, they achieve the highest perfection of goal of life. That is engaging in the loving service of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So such a beautiful chapter. So in the translation of the 27th verse we just saw, freed from illusion, impelled by the modes of material nature, she forgot, that is, Devahuti forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. So let us see how she gets freed from illusion. What is illusion? What are the material modes of nature? How we can forget the material body, right? First, let us see. See, once there was a person who was passing by some huge elephants. They were moving on the road. And he suddenly stopped. He was confused by that these huge creatures were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. There are no chains or no cages. Normally, they have the huge elephants. So it was obvious that the elephants could anytime break away. It was small rope only. But for some reason, they were not doing it. So at that time, the person, he saw the trainer. So he asked him, why these huge elephants? They're just standing there. They're not making any attempt to get away. The trainer said, when they were young and much smaller, he said, we used the rope which is now there, the same rope we used to tie them with them. At that age, it was enough to hold them because they were small. The same rope is now also being tied. Now, as they grow up, they are conditioned to believe that they cannot break away. They believe the rope can still hold them. So they never tried to break free. So the person was amazed to hear this answer. So similar to the huge elephants, we also carry the same mentality due to our conditioning as a result of our contact with the three modes of material nature. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Where we are forced to believe that we cannot get out of the powerful attachments that are binding us to this world of birth and death. See, we doubt, right? We doubt. How can this simple procedure of Krishna consciousness work? See, Krishna is very simple. Just chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. We doubt that. Is it so simple? How can we go to Goloka Vrindavan just by eating prasadam? We don't believe. When Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Devehi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevaya Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. Krishna says, 7th chapter, 14th verse, this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. This is guarantee Krishna is giving. We doubt. Because of our conditioning by the three modes of nature, we feel strongly tied by the rope of illusion, which appears in the form of family, friends, countrymen, colleagues, bank balances, so many things. So all these over a period of time, they create a web of sense gratificatory activities around us, and which keeps us in the middle world. See, somehow we believe that it is impossible for me to perform austerities in Krishna consciousness. Getting up early in the morning for Mangalati, doing so many sevas, it's very difficult. Austerity is too much. So Narada Muni, in his verse, 7th canto, 15th chapter, verse number 25, he provides a simple solution to this grave situation. He says, Rajas tamascha satvena sattvam chopashamena cha etas sarvam guru bhaktya purusho hyanjasa jayet. Please hear the translation very nicely. One must conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by developing the mode of goodness. You can conquer passion by developing mode of goodness. Then one must become detached. Then one must become detached from the mode of goodness by promoting oneself to the platform of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. And he says all this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of the modes of nature. Srila Prabhupada, in his very simple but very powerful purport, explains just by treating the root cause of an ailment, one can conquer all the bodily pains and sufferings. Right? Just by treating the root cause of an ailment, one can conquer all the bodily pains. Similarly, if one is devoted and faithful to the spiritual master, he can conquer the influence of Satoguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna very easily. Just follow the instructions of the spiritual master. See, yogis and jnanis practice in many ways to conquer the senses. But the bhakta immediately attains the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the spiritual master. Nisya prasadat bhagavat prasadu. So if the spiritual master is favorably inclined, one naturally receives the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one immediately becomes transcendental, conquering all the influences of Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna within the spiritual world. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, over a period of time, depending upon our sincerity, our fear for the unknown will be replaced by the faith of the known. So we'll be freed from the rope of illusion, binding us to this material world. And we'll no longer find ourselves in a situation similar to the elephants, who, though so near to freedom, yet were so far away from it because of being conditioned. See, there is such a transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. See, when one becomes free, in the purport of, I think, 4:4:27, Rupa says, when one becomes free from all bodily relationships within this material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. Prabhupada further says it is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally. For if one forgets all his bodily relationships within this material world and becomes situated in a spiritual identity, it is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. So this is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his bodily relationships within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. That's why in Bhagavatam 2:4:15, it is said, Yat Kirtanam, Yat Smaranam. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Person of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from material contamination, the material bodily concept by the blazing fire of ecstasy. So this effect takes place immediately, without a second's delay, just by chanting Hare Krishna Maha. See, in 11th canto, 11th chapter, 8th verse, in the purport, Prabhupada says, the Lord describes the different symptoms of liberated and conditioned jiva souls. In a dream, one sees oneself in an imaginary body. You're sleeping now, you're in a dream. So you are seeing yourself in an imaginary body. But upon waking up, one gives up all the identification with that dream body. Once you wake up, the dream is gone. So that body is nowhere there. Similarly, one who has awakened to Krishna consciousness. Similarly, one who has awakened to Krishna consciousness no longer identifies with the gross or subtle material bodies. Nor does he become affected with the happiness and distress of material life. Actually, we are all sleeping now in this material world. The human form of life is there, but we are sleeping. Unless and until we awaken ourselves to Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, a foolish person does not awaken from the dream of material existence. If you're not in Krishna consciousness, we are in a dream of material existence and is afflicted with innumerable problems. Why? Due to false identification of the gross and subtle material bodies. So one should become situated in one's eternal spiritual identity, Nitya Swarupa. So by properly identifying oneself as the eternal servant of Krishna, one becomes relieved of his false material identity. And therefore, the miseries of illusory existence immediately stops. Just as the anxiety of a troublesome dream, it stops as soon as one awakens to his normal surroundings, correct? So it should be understood, however, that the analogy of awakening from a dream can never be applied to Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is now never in illusion. God is eternally awake and enlightened in his own unique category called Vishnu Tattva. So such knowledge is easily understood by one who is Vidwan or enlightened in Krishna consciousness. And again in the 6th canto, 4th chapter, 14th verse, the purpose says, when one becomes angry, he forgets himself and his situation. Right? But if one is able to consider his situation by knowledge, he transcends the influence of the modes of material nature. Otherwise, you are consumed the modes. So one is always a servant of lusty desires, anger, greed, illusion, envy, so on and so forth. But if one obtains sufficient strength in the spiritual advancement, one can control them. So one who obtains such control will always be transcendently situated, untouched by the modes of material nature. So this is only possible when one fully engages in the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati teitan brahma bhoyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. So by engaging in devotional service, the Krishna conscious movement keeps one always transcendental to anger, greed, lust, envy, and so on. So one must perform devotional service because otherwise one will become victimized by the modes of material nature. So this devotional service, this sadhana, bhakti, which we are doing, we should never leave it. Continue. Otherwise, we'll be victimized by these modes. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 22nd verse, in this purport, Prabhupada he says this verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. See, it is explained in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes dress. So this change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. So as long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. So due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Because we want to enjoy, right, this material world. That's why we are put into such undesirable circumstances. Prabhupada says, under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, worm, aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet he is under the influence of the material nature. So how he is put into such different bodies is explained in this verse. It is due to association with different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above these three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires. Not now, since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. That's what we are doing, hearing from Krishna, hearing the Krishna Katha. And so many speakers have come and just giving whatever the Guru and Prabhupada have given, they're just giving that Katha to you. So this is how you, by hearing this Katha, you will never be affected by these modes of material nature. So the best example, Arjuna is hearing the signs of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, he will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature. And gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. We want happiness, but he will enjoy spiritual happiness, which is eternal. So in a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionally relishes his eternal blissful life. Again, in 9th canto, 8th chapter, 23rd verse, purport, Prabhupada says the word Swabhava refers to one's own spiritual nature or original constitutional position. So when situated in this original position, the living entity is unaffected by the modes of material nature. Saguna Samaiti Taitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, 14.26, right? Bhagavad Gita. So as soon as one is freed from the influence of the three modes of material nature, he is situated on the Brahman platform. See, vivid examples of personalities thus situated are the four Kumaras and Narada. Such authorities can by nature understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But a conditioned soul, not freed from the influence of material nature, is unable to realize the Supreme Law. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 2.45, Krishna advises Arjuna, Traigunya Vishe Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. One must rise above the influence of the three modes of material nature. One who stays within the influence of the three material modes is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, in Bhagavad Gita 7.28, Krishna says, Yesham antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam edvandamo nirmukta bhajante mam dridavataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Prabhupada in his purport explains that our life should be crystal clear, free from all sinful activities. Then only we will be able to worship Krishna with firm determination, as it is explained in this verse. Prabhupada insists that for one who has followed the regulative principles throughout his life and performed devotional service, only that person is eligible to rise to the pure knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is possible in Krishna consciousness in association of devotees. See, all these regulative principles, they have not come out of Srila Prabhupada's pocket. They are based on Srimad Bhagavatam. One incident of Parikshit Maharaj and Kali Yuga personified. Parikshit Maharaj even saw a Shudra person beating a cow. He was upset and wanted to kill him. But Kali personified surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj. Now, as Kali Yuga had no place to stay, he requested for a place to stay. Sorry. So Parikshit Maharaj said, you are a bad person, so you should reside in these four places. Wherever gambling takes place, intoxication takes place, where illicit connections takes place, and at the slaughterhouses, where animals are cut for sense gratification. So since Kali personified resides in these four sinful places, Srila Prabhupada established the Vedic principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada has actually helped us in giving up sinful life. This is the way of getting free from the sinful activities. Just following the four regulative principles. So when we chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we become firm in devotional service towards Krishna. See the first line of this verse, Yesham tu antagatam papam. We come to know that we have to put an end to our sins. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in Shishashtaka how to do that. He says, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam. If you want to clean your mind, then you have to continuously chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And in the second line, he says, Janana Punya Karmana. Krishna says that one should have credit of pious activities in previous life or in this life. You should have some credit of pious activities in this life or in the previous life. If one does not have pious credits, then it is duty of devotees to create pious credits for them through Harinam parties and Nagar Sankirtan. By doing, people may be just watching and hearing, so they are getting the pious credits, knowingly or unknowingly. So by our clothes, people should remember Krishna. By our behavior, people should remember Krishna. And if they do it, then unknowingly they build pious activities. But as soon as they see us again and again, as soon as they hear Krishna's kirtan from our mouth again and again, they taste prasadam again and again, they build up their pious activity. So this is the way to eradicate the sinful tendencies. We should serve the devotees as stated in Bhagavatam 5.5.2, that if one actually wants to get liberated, then he must render service to devotees. This helps us in building pious activities for ourselves. And then, as soon as the sinful activities are eradicated, te dvanda moha nirmukta. They become free from illusion. So simply sitting and chanting Mahamantra will build up the pious credits. Serving devotees builds up pious credits. And when your pious credits are built, then duality from your mind is completely eradicated. Now, what is this duality? Dvandva. It is ignorance. In ignorance, we think my house is permanently mine, my bank balance is permanently mine, my shop belongs to me, my wife, my husband belongs to me. All the paraphernalia which I have now is permanently mine. Ishwaroham aham bhogi, siddhoham bhagavan sukhi. These are ignorant tendencies. Bhagavad Gita 16.14 says, Ishwaroham means I am the controller. Aham bhogi, I am the enjoyer. Siddhoham, I am perfect. Balavan, I am strongest. Sukhi, I am very happy. This is ignorance. And because of this ignorance, sins increase. Forget about nullifying them. So by building pious activities, one gets free from duality, illusion. Dvandva moha nirmukta. So once you are free from duality of illusion, you start bhajante ma, worshipping me. And how? Dridavrittaha, by being firm in your devotional practices. So how to come to the platform of pure devotional service? 1. By giving up all sinful activities. 2. Building pious credits. 3. Thereby getting freed from illusion of ignorance. And 4. Then start worshipping Krishna with full determination. That is 7.28 Bhagavad Gita. So let us all pray at the feet of Guru and Prabhupada and Krishna that we be determined in devotional service and improving our behavior and remembering Krishna and Guru. And Krishna will help others remembering Krishna as well. See, in the 15.5 Bhagavad Gita, Nirmana Moha Jisa Sanga Dosha Adhyatma Nitya Vinivritta Kamaha Dvandvair Mukta Sukha Dukkha Sangher Gachanti Amura Padama Vyayam Tat. Here also, Dvandvair, right? Dvandvair means dualities. In our life, there are always dilemmas, whether to do this or do that. One or the other way, these dilemmas always puts us into troubles. So what to do? What should we do? We should never dwell in duality. If you are in duality, then you are wasting your time. Either do this or that. So duality has to be sorted out. Take for example, if you are having a duality of whether to get married or not, then what happens is that by meditating on that point, we neither do the service nor are we marrying. This is the result. So duality should be avoided. If you can decide one thing, either to stay in the temple or to get married. So even if you are not able to decide, at least get rid of the duality. Think that Krishna will sort the duality, and until then I must do my duties. So intensify your sadhana very seriously, and this is the way to avoid duality. See, we should not be victimized by the trick of Maya. There is a trick of Maya to present the dualities in front of you. And because we don't have faith in Krishna, that he is in control, that is why we are in duality. So please, we should never give in to dualities. Try to sort out if you can. If you cannot sort out, then intensify your sadhana. And eventually, Krishna will sort it out anyway. If Krishna wants you to marry, he will get married. If he doesn't want you to get married, then he will keep you as it is. So leave it to Krishna. You will not be able to sort out. This is the way to get out of the dualities. See, this whole world, people don't understand how to get out of these dualities. They always unknowingly dwell in duality and they cannot do anything. And their whole time is wasted. So please, whatever seva is in your hands, whatever seva you are doing, do it very immaculately well. And eventually, the things will be taken care of. This is how the duality must be stopped. Dvandver mukta sukha dukkha sanghe. So how to be removed from these dualities? Gachanti amuda padam avyayam tat. It's not possible. Amuda means those who are not foolish. They attain the eternal abode. But this is not possible if one is not liberated from dualities. Dvandver mukta. So this is the point. The same principle is magnified in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, we know that Arjuna had a duality, whether to fight or not. Eventually, he threw the bows and arrows and sat down, putting the hand on his head as if he is the doer. Arjuna, and that's what Krishna explains to him. You are not the doer, I am doing everything. And this is the answer for all our dualities. Everywhere you see the same principle is there. Duryodhana thought that he is doing. Dhritarashtra thought that he is doing. Whereas Yudhishthira thought that Krishna is doing everything. And he was liberated of dualities. So you see the difference? So Duryodhana was completely consumed by his enviousness. And he was always in duality. So Karna was giving him support in duality and Karna was destroyed. Shakuni supported him in duality. He was also destroyed. Same Bhishma and Drona. So we see even big personalities are destroyed because of dualities. Then what are we really? So to our best capacity, we have to try to sort it out. But if we cannot sort it out, please continue with whatever seva you are doing. The place where you are staying is known to you. In case of jobs also, it is the same thing, same with business, etc. So everywhere, when faith in Krishna is absent, we are consumed by worries. Those who have strong faith in Krishna, they are not worried. They don't worry about the past or future, but they're very particular about the present. So this is the way to get out of dualities. So please try these points and sort out your situations to the best of your ability. And if you're not able to sort out, leave it to Krishna. As it is, he is doing it. In marriages, it's a big problem because two parties are involved. One party might want it, but unless Krishna is merciful, another party will never be favorable. So when Krishna decides that this pair is all right, then he inspires the other party to be favorable to you. So till that time, you have to wait. And this waiting period is a dangerous waste of time because you keep meditating on it. Meditating on any subject other than Krishna. Meditating on any subject other than Krishna is a mere waste of time. This has to be remembered. This is one of the practical points we can understand from this verse. See the 28th verse, when one is free from material anxiety, right? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, 18.54. That is the stage of free from anxieties. If I got some anxieties for maintaining any anxieties, we cannot perfectly chant Krishna's name, right? We are anxious. But even though one is full of anxieties, if it takes to Kirtana, then Cheto Darpana Marjana. His unclean heart becomes cleansed. And the more the heart becomes cleansed, it becomes anxiety less. No anxiety. Cheto Dharma Marjanam Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam. So unless a dirty heart is cleansed by the chanting process, the dirty heart mind will not be cleansed. The formula is given by Chaitanya Cheto Dharma Marjana. See, in Rajavidya, king of knowledge, if you have the boat of perfect knowledge, there is no fear. For we can cross the ocean very easily. Even if a person is most sinful, if he receives the boat of science of Krishna, he can cross the ocean very easily. As is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.36, it does not matter what we were in our past lives. Because we were in ignorance, we may have committed so many abominable sins, actions. So no one can say that he's free from sinful activity. But according to the Bhagavad Gita, this does not matter. Just by knowing the science of Krishna, one becomes free. Therefore, absolutely necessary that we seek this knowledge, and the perfection of knowledge is to understand Krishna. In the purport of 4.6.39, Prabhupada says, it is impossible to conceive of the existence, name, form, quality, and posture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he is transcendently situated beyond the conception of materialistic persons. Now, because materialists cannot imagine or conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they may think that God is dead. Factually, he is always existing in his Satchidananda Vigraha, his eternal. So, constant meditation concentrated on the form of the Lord is called Samadhi, ecstasy or trance. Samadhi means particularly concentrated attention. Particularly, just on one point. So, one who has achieved this qualification of always meditating on the personality of Godhead is to be understood to be always in trance and enjoying Brahma Nirvana, Brahmananda. See, Lord Shiva exhibited those symptoms. Therefore, it is stated he was absorbed in Brahmananda. See, in this age of quarrel, Kali Yuga, age of quarrel, even the most insignificant being think himself very important. That is why this age is called as the age of disagreement, as nobody wants to be submissive to others. Instead, they like to boss around. And the so-called name of freedom and being independent, everybody has complicated and suppressed the precious human life. In Bhagavad Gita 2.7, Arjuna very nicely says to Krishna, Karpanya dosho pahatas swabhava prichami tvam dharma sammudacheta yachreyasyanishchitam bruhitan me shishyasya shadi mam tvam prapannam. Arjuna is telling, now I am confused about my duty and I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrender unto you. Please instruct me. So in this words, the great devotee Arjuna surrenders submissively to the great teacher Lord Krishna. So the entire verse is a lesson for a lifetime. The word karpanya means miserly and dosha means fault. Human life is so precious that we can recognize what is our real swabhava. But we are misers in not following that. The real swabhava is to be submissive and humble and follow the instructions of Guru and Parampara. But we every time fail and ensure that we follow the dictates of the mind and don't align with Guru's instructions. So this non-submissive quality is called miserliness, kripana. Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example to understand Swabhava. If you make a dog a king, does it mean that he will no longer lick the shoes? The dog's nature is to lick shoes. So if you make him lick like a king and make him sit on the throne, as soon as he sees the shoe, he will jump down. This is Swabhava. So here Arjuna's Swabhava is a Kshatriya. But if we see the previous verses, he gives so many arguments and explanations not to fight the war due to his bodily afflictions. Arjuna goes to the extent of even changing his occupation to begging and leading a life which is completely against the dharma of Kshatriya. So every time we try to contradict away from the Shastras, the perplexities in our mind increase and we do the exact opposite instruction of Guru. So the turning point for everyone is to quickly understand our weakness and surrender to Guru and other Vaishnavas, just like how Arjuna did. The moment Arjuna realized that he was a miser in not following the Kshatriya dharma, he requests the Lord to instruct him with what is good, Shreyaha for him. So he turns to Krishna, Prichami Tvam, to seek advice and remove the dosha. So he requests Krishna to instruct about his real dharma so that he can come out of the bewilderment, sammuda. So everyone is bewildered in the human life. Every human being is suffering from a bhavaroga, material infection. As a materialist world has suppressed our real consciousness. And we are also leading the life that is like that of an animal life. So there are so many challenges in human life that it takes us far away from our real constitutional position, that we are here only to serve the Guru and go back to Godhead. Maya kicks and tricks in so many ways, and birth after birth, we fall for the insignificant materialist positions and forget our real Swabhava. Though Lord Krishna and Arjuna are related by blood and share a very friendly relationship, Arjuna, in true spirit of being a disciple, completely surrenders to Krishna and declares that he is a student by saying, Shishyasteham. Not just a student, but a surrendered, Tvam Prapannam, a submissive student. So Krishna also says in 4.34 Bhagavad Gita, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashne Sevaya, that we need to use the 3S formula. 3S formula to gain knowledge. What are the three? Number one, first S is approaching a spiritual master, Pranipatena. Second is submissive inquiries, Pariprashnena. And third is rendering of service, Sevaya. So approaching spiritual master, submissive inquiries, and rendering of service to the spiritual master. So if you are submissive and serve the Shastras, Guru, and Vaishnavas, then all that is troublesome to our heart will be quickly vanquished. In one of the lectures, my Guru Maharaj gave a wonderful instruction for why the materialistic infection still resides in our heart, even after taking Krishna consciousness for so many years. Why it is so? He tells us that we are living in a complete illusion that we are devotees. He says that there may be multiple gurus and preachers, but the Guru Tattva is one. If we differentiate the speaker, Guru, or Vaishnava, who by Krishna's mercy is instructing us, then we only hear the words of the speaker. But if we are submissive and humble and then listen, Krishna speaks through the mouth of the speaker. Thus, the same preacher may give a huge impact to a submissive devotee. But since we are not in the submissive state, we do not hear from Krishna. So this is so true that we see this live example happening in Arjuna's pastime as well. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, the Vishada Yoga, right? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The spiritual personality of Krishna is right in front of Arjuna. But it does not instruct a word. Krishna does not speak anything, but keeps patiently listening to Arjuna's arguments of not fighting. Only when Arjuna repents and submits himself, then the Lord starts giving his instructions. So if this is the situation for the great devotee Arjuna himself, who is extremely close to Krishna, then we need to understand our pitiable situation. So how much we must be submissive is something that we need to meditate upon. So let us pray and put all these above instructions into practice and realize that in this human life is not meant to be wasted. And let us bow down to Vaishnavas in the true sense. This is the points, so many points to be learned. I think time is of the essence. Let's stop here. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. This is the point we should understand from this verse, the two verses 27 and 28. So 27th verse is said, no, situated in eternal trance, freed from illusion. So Devati, by hearing these instructions from Kapila Muni, he followed it and she was completely freed from illusion, which are all the illusion which is impelled by the modes of middle nature. Thereby she forgot her middle body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. In a dream, we remember that body, but when you are awake from the sleep, that dream body is gone. So similarly, actually, now we are sleeping in this middle world with all these anarthas and so many dualities and all. Unless we come above this most middle nature, we'll be still in this dream only. We have to awaken in Krishna consciousness. We awaken to Krishna consciousness. Then we will be in the trance, the spiritual platform. Then we can go back to Godhead by doing a sadhana very simple, very nicely, and immaculately, and with faith, complete faith in Krishna. Just like Arjuna had complete faith when he surrendered to him and submissively and told him, please instruct me what is beneficial for me. Let us pray to Krishna. So please, we are totally bewildered, we are confused day in and day out. We don't know what to do. We're always having some difficulties, suffering, so many people around us. We are doing our sadhana, but sometimes we are not able to do it properly and all. So please, Krishna, we are surrendered to you. So please help us and please instruct us what is beneficial for all of us. Hare Krishna, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna. I hope it was okay, whatever is to some extent within my capacity, was able to try to convey how to get rid of the illusions, how to be dualities, come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we are always in a dream. Even when we are doing Krishna consciousness, we are in a dream. Okay, I think is there. I will stop here. Thank you very much. Mancha kalpatarubhich kripa samdubhaya vacha patitanam pavane pushta. If you have anything to share or anything, please go ahead. Otherwise, stop here. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhujis. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. That Devahuti prayers and what all you have explained for today, it was very nice, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. The
Hare Krishna. Thank
dualities,
you.
yeah, the dilemma and the dualities and the anxiety that prevails, and how to get over it, and how should we ever seek and approach the Guru to get that cloud cleared. It was very nice, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice points. Thank you, Archana Mataji, Nirmala Mataji,
Hare
Santosh Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Om Tat Sat. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Santosh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much, Mataji. Have a nice time. Stay safe. Be